All right, welcome. I am so excited to be here speaking with two of my favorite people, not just in our field, but in the world. You are in for such a treat if you're listening or tuning in to any portion of this, because you are going to get a healing. Before we started, I was sharing with Mary Elizabeth and Michael Angelo. When I met them years ago at a live symposium, I just felt such a healing from their presence. When they come together, their energies, they're warm, energetic, and just powerful, but such a healing presence. We're here to talk about a lot of things. Primarily, I know you're both going to be co-presenting at the upcoming symposium. You have co-authored an incredible book called Vibrational Acupuncture, Integrating Tuning Forks with Needles. And Mary Elizabeth authored a book in 2014, Constitutional Facial Acupuncture, but it goes so much deeper. We're not just talking cosmetic acupuncture. We're not just talking the outside. There's so much that goes deeper. I'd like to explore that with you today. If you could tell me a little bit about the genesis of your book, Vibrational Acupuncture, Integrating Tuning Forks with Needles, how that started, and then where it took off. How was that process of birthing that information out, and share a little bit more about that?
Great. We shall. And I love the word birthing, because it is, when you're writing a book, it's like birth pangs and bringing that through. And you go through all those months of gestation until it finally comes out. And then after the book is out, you go, whoops, you feel a little, oh my sad. This time when Vibrational Acupuncture came out, 2020, the pandemic had just started. So that was, right?
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about that a little?
you couldn't ask for more inauspicious timing than to have a book come out in March of 2020.
We had just gotten back from teaching in Denver and gotten back to New York just in time. And Singing Dragon is our publisher, and they're out of the UK. It's an excellent publishing company. It also is hooked up with Hachette, which is an amazing, I think it's French, isn't it?
Well, I don't really know.
A publishing company there. But anyway, yeah, it was like giving birth and going, oh, where do we start here? And so Singing Dragon had
It's like the baby is still in the incubator.
Yeah,
east,
exactly.
A year later.
The West incubator.
I mean, all of the events that we were going to use to promote it, to a certain extent, just went, almost overnight. And we did do one sort of virtual book event online, which a number of people attended. But so far, the avenues for traditional, proliferation of a book such as this have been denied. So,
but now what's happening is that people are interested. They've been buying the book. It's 5-star, and it is a very interesting book because we are using needles and working with sound. So we're working with vibration, and we're working with energy, chi, and working together with those two. It took a lot of experimentation. Some of my patients and colleagues and friends certainly raised their hand to be experimented upon. And it is an amazing, groundbreaking book in that we are working with tuning forks vibration. And we've been doing this since 2003, right? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we've been associated with the acutonics community in northern New Mexico since 2003. And for 7 years, I was actually part of their inner creative circle as their advisor on astrological medicine and musical studies. Because this is the interesting thing about this system, is that it represents a fusion, if you will, a synergy of
Chinese medicine,
what I would certainly describe as Western astrological medicine, which is the traditional medicine of the West, and Chinese medicine. You use planetary tuning forks on the points and meridians of acupuncture, and it really is a tremendously powerful meeting of these two ancient medical streams of knowledge.
Yeah, it's like a calibrated Om tuning forks as well as planetary forks and needles, both on the face and the body, and it is powerful. It is really we'll talk a little bit more about that, but using sound, people are not as, people are fearful of needles. The sound literally relaxes them because it works with what the kidney and the water element versus, you know, Mars is more the planet Mars for needles. So you've got the immune effect and you also have that effect of working with the water element. So it is incredible how that works and magical. You just, we've had some amazing, and not only in teaching, but also with patients and and we've taught this elsewhere. We actually brought this out before the book was written. We tried it on the Dutch.
Yeah.
We were in with a big
School there.
Qingbai.
Qingbai Academy of Chinese Medicine. They don't
Yes,
have their
Qingbai, I
own
forgot.
building. They basically take their school on the road around various cities in
very
Holland, and
resourceful.
we've had the good fortune to be able to go to Amersfoort, which is one of the most
A medieval town just
Yeah.
outside of Amsterdam.
one of the most desirable places apparently to live in the Netherlands, and teach at a lovely hotel there. And so we decided we'd premiere the course there, and the Dutch practitioners just simply loved the material. They really
And then we tried it out
Yeah.
first. It isn't exactly how it is in the book, but we tried it out first and they went crazy for it. All acupuncturists playing with the vibration and working with working with acupuncture. And they literally were radiant. In fact, they wouldn't leave the seminar. We were done and they didn't want to go because the energy in there was so fabulous. And to get a pile of Dutch people out of their head is a major feat. Pardon the pun. No, I mean there were some
Yeah.
amazing people there, all of them, and so that's how it was birthed. And then we decided we've tried it in the Dutch, and let's start writing it. Not immediately, but took quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's a natural outgrowth, obviously, of our background as professional classical musicians. I'm actually a composer and a pianist as well, and of course, Mary Elizabeth
I'm an opera singer
was
as
a
well,
flutist.
and a professional flautist in an orchestra.
Yeah.
And
And I taught music theory at the university level for a while. So we brought all of that experience to our
sound.
contact with this international sound healing community. And we've been able to then capitalize on that experience. And of course, all of the understanding we've acquired since, at least certainly as far as I'm concerned, of the esoteric ramifications of sound healing and bring them to bear in this book.
Yeah.
You know.
So yes, so it's quite a book. It's very has a lot in it, and we look at sacred geometry. We look at working with the three jiaos, you know, lower, middle, and upper jiao, and we work with sacred geometry. But more than that, we work with what I call the mudras in Hindu, and different positions of the hand. Below for the Ren 4, it would be an upside down diamond, and you could needle and or fork Ren 4, and then the hand would be opening up to the blood chamber, to the cinnabar field. And then when you go up, in fact, we're teaching that for the symposium, one of these things, you go up to the third chakra, right? And we've got Ren 12. And then we're working with prayer position. We're working with the idea of the will, right? The third chakra. So the hand is together like this. And I use Sanjiao 2, which is between the fourth and the fifth finger. And I take the tuning forks, and only tuning forks, and I fork through the two hands, two tuning forks. And what happens is the patient or the person can feel the energy, the vibration in the palm. And it's the whole idea of prayer and sacredness and letting go of ego, right? I might say. And the last one is a Ren 17, it's across the chest. So the hands are crossed, and I use small intestine, what is it? 6, which is Yang Lao, right? So the point for the ages, but it also opens up the entire heart. And your hands are like this, the forks are on the points together, usually the 2 ohm forks, we can use planetaries as well. And they feel that vibrate through their heart chakra and through the Ren 17, right? Amazing. And then, of course, always grounding people, but you can also use needles. But the idea of only using sound there it's something I created. It's very unique and powerful. And you're using these, the the triple heaters, and you're organizing this lower, middle, and upper jaw in a vibrational way. And you can also use needles. You can also use needles with the forks. You can needle and then fork around it. It just depends. But that's just an example of creativity. And
I mean, and your background in composing music and all the other backgrounds, you've, in one modality in this book, you're bringing sacred geometry, the mudras, Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine, the channels, esoteric. It's blowing my mind, and I'm thinking about it. I've had sound healing with gongs and Tibetan bowls. And I can just imagine the same thing, because with a tuning fork, you're taking that and directing it like a needle does. You're moving chi with that. And in your book, do you give protocols with needles, without needles, which fork to use, where, and that sort of thing?
Yes, it's very clear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we ask, there's a whole thing, contraindications and benefits. When do you use needles and tuning forks? When do you just use tuning forks? When do you just use needles? It depends upon the patient, and it's very clear. For instance, if somebody is very needle phobic or very frightened and has post-traumatic stress syndrome, there's no way I'm going to needle that person.
Right.
To jump right out of their skin. You could get into the etheric field just above the Wei Qi, that's the Wei Qi, the body. They can feel that. They're so sensitive, and they probably have been violated as a child or something happened to them. So that is a wonderful benefit for using sound. And other people who are very young, expect needles and heavy duty needles, right? So, but to integrate them is very interesting, and we have certain mudras, and not only the mudras, but sacred geometry above the tuning forks. Yeah, the glyphs of the sound of the planets, and you can. It's just very. It sounds wooey, but it's not. It's extremely
grounded.
Great. Should we tell her the story about the kidney stone and the?
If you like.
Yes, I want to hear it. I was going to ask for a story. I love stories.
You love stories.
I do.
This is outrageous. And maybe you'll have something to contribute with the story. Maybe you have something to say about why this has happened. We were giving, before all this happened, we were giving a seminar in New York, and we had a nice Canadian woman. It was needles, and it was the vibrational.
Yeah, it was vibrational acupuncture.
Needles and forks. And she said, I have a kidney stone. And I said, kidney stones. And I palpated, I said, it's on the left side, the big one. She said, yes. So what we did was we did the whole needling, the constitutional needling. We got down to Tai Chi, kidney 3, which is, of course, the source point, as you know, goes directly to the kidney, to the organ, to the water element. And I needled with, of course, a metal needle. And some of these forks have what we call bored out. Do you want to tell her what that is?
Well, the vibrational repertoire of the acutonic system is quite extensive. You know, you have all of the planets, and you have hypothetical planets, and you have planetary gongs, and you have chimes, and you have 3 different octaves of frequency. But in addition, and this again was largely Mary Elizabeth's brainwave that she did with Donna Carey, who I used to co-teach with. They have a whole gem application.
Faceted gems that screw onto these.
AccuGems. Oh yeah, I used to use them.
Got it. Yeah.
I love AccuGems. Oh
Yeah. So the thing that they decided was that they would actually bore out the forks and then screw the gem tips on the fork. So you have a hollow stem of the fork. And so Mary Elizabeth did
a space. Sorry. So I'm sorry, darling. So what I did was take the metal handle. I forgot what brand it was, and I put the needle there for her, and then I put the tuning fork vibrating a low ohm bored out over the needle. And she said, "What did she say? Oh my God!" She said, "I feel my I'm not sure stone, my kidney stone is moving. It's moving."
Like passing?
Yes, moving. And she said, it's shifting. And there I was, and I did that 3 times. The number 3, of course, is the number of completion. And then I took the fork off that taishi, that point, and it literally, it was one of those needles that had the wraparound stainless steel. Yeah, I think it was.
Right. Yeah.
No. And I took that off, and what had happened is, tell her, you
Well,
cry. It's wild.
some metal had deposited itself around the shaft of the needle, and as I understand it, the
Yes.
needle had actually
We have
been
it.
driven much more deeply into the point by the
Result.
torque within the hollow stem of the tuning fork. I described it at the time as a tempest in a tube, and without wanting to
We still have it.
without wanting to diverge too much into my enthusiasms, I did write a whole essay on it afterwards, because the astrology around the event was so very interesting.
Outrageous. So
Yeah.
she had the handle was all intact, but there was an extra stainless steel wrapped around the handle of the needle when we pulled it out. There was nothing in that tuning fork. And it came out, and I said, I've never seen it. And she said to me, oh my God, I feel so much better. She released it. She said, I feel better. I'm not in pain.
Wow.
And it was outrageous. So things happen. I mean, that's unusual, but it's interesting. It's interesting when you take the chance to take, what can I say, a leap into another way of doing something. That can turn out really strangely, or it may look strange, but the result could be a massive and fantastic healing process. And she had no pain after that. She went in the bathroom, it was gone, and obviously needed to look into work with the kidney stones. But she also had a baby, right? Just a young baby.
Yeah, she had decided that she very much wanted to be with us in Montreal, and from Montreal, and so she came down to New York, and she left her, I don't say newborn, but not quite a toddler, in Montreal, so that she could participate in the class.
Interesting.
That was very interesting. Yep.
So that is something you can do with vibration and with the needles. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, and also fork around it, or just use needles. It depends upon the patient. But there's so many. It's a treasure trove of treatments, and it really, what I've learned, I thought, oh gosh, that people are going to think this is really wooey, but actually, the results are profound, and you have choices. And the book guide is a guideline as to when to use this or not. And also goes into do not using contraindicated points, especially because some people who are not acupuncturists get their hands on this. And there's lots of little flags that say, if you are not an acupuncturist, do not do this. But you can't control that. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
It just sounds, I mean, it's so multidimensional. The healing process here is completely multidimensional, even going into the esoteric realms and the ethers. And
most assuredly.
And you taught these classes from 2003, started then, and then all those teachings, experiences, you put them into the book. The book is more designed for practitioners, I would imagine.
Also, we have a whole area east that have to do with self-care.
Yeah.
With the
in the book.
In the book, absolutely. For people who are love the sound, you just use the tuning forks, and they can ground themselves. They can bring the energy down. If they're feeling grounded, they can take care of themselves. There's a whole balancing with tuning forks, facial, going up the body, but using 2 tuning forks and pinching along the side of the face and the cheekbones. And there's diagrams. So it is for acupuncturists. It is for people who are not acupuncturists, but we don't suggest needles. Use a taishin, the little.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
That Japanese use. Yeah.
Right.
And so we recommend things. And the interesting thing is that it is based, as Michelangelo said, on Chinese medicine, which makes it fantastic. So you're working with Chinese medicine, the acupuncture points, and people are able to learn a bit about that with a little bit of the other sacred geometry. And you have a whole area of music theory too.
Yeah, we start the book sort of with an overview of the history of healing sound, and then there's a a whole chapter that I call an overview of quantum music theory, because one of the things that I began to understand when I first started working with acutonics was that Western music theory is very good in giving us a rhetoric by which we can describe healing sound, but it doesn't really tell us much about the esoteric implications of using it. And so you kind of have to explore that. And I won't say that I'm, the most profound thinker ever in that regard.
Pretty darn good.
But it certainly does make for very interesting, exploration and discovery.
Absolutely. And it gives people just a little bit of support to understand what he's doing. You talk about Pythagoras.
Yeah, well, the problem of course, is that for the average person, sound is an ambient experience, right? We're constantly barraged with sound and in our world, music of all types, but also noise. So it's to make the leap to the notion that sound can have a visceral impact upon the body is often extremely difficult for people to understand. And so when you get into the esotericism of it and the real profundity of what ancient thinkers have thought, as Mary Elizabeth said, Pythagoras and many others, about how sound impacts the body, they, I think, then have a greater appreciation for how they might use it themselves.
I went to a sound healer for manifestation. I have a sound healer here in San Diego. He uses Tibetan bowls. And I went to him, and he does a lot of physical intentions. But I remember years ago, he said, what intentions, what do you want to manifest in your life? And I said, well, I don't know if you can do it with sound, but I'd love to fall in love and have children. He said, let's do it. And guess what? I have a husband and 2 children. And I just went to him recently and I said, well, let's go for stage 2. You help me manifest. So I personally feel that it was a lot of things. It wasn't just possibly the sound healing that manifested what I wanted in my life, but I do believe with every fiber of my being that sound, like you said, has a visceral effect on the mind, body, spirit, such that it has this profound effect on all the parts of your life and the multi-dimensional realms of what you're bringing into your life, what you're manifesting, what universes you're creating. I mean,
your intention was clear, it seems to me.
Yes, and sometimes the sound can help shake off the things that don't serve you, so that you can get clear, so that you can manifest. When you guys are at Symposium, are you going to be teaching some of these protocols in your workshop?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we always.
There's going to be a lot of. I'm sorry. We will. Yes, there always are live demonstrations, and if you're there, maybe we can demonstrate on you.
Oh, I'm coming. I think this year is Symposium online.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
But we could. Yeah.
You're doing classes online, aren't you? Recently, like in the last year, you've been doing a lot of your workshops and classes online.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's interesting because healing sound is transmitted directly to the body, and MichelAngelo will talk a little bit about that. But I want to ask you, I use Tibetan bowls too, and I put the bowls under the table when they're lying there resting. Wow. And I hit the bowls under the table. It goes up into their back. Usually they're on their back. And then when I take the needles out, I ask them if I could put the bigger bowl between the legs, one on the Ren 4, and then I bring the bowls up to the chest. And then I, with the smaller one, and I hit it on the body, on the front. And if we have time, if we're working with the back, on the back, totally shifts the energy. And I meant shifts with an FTS. It shifts, the energy. And I had a very difficult patient the other day, and he was really feeling, and a really wonderful person, and just feeling stuck. And I said, you know what? We haven't tried the bowls yet. Sound and vibration, there are no words for this. It's just pure vibration. And after I did that, there was such a shift in his energy. And it was, I said, the emotions now can ground themselves and let go with the tingsha to clean the energy around, those little symbols. Right. So the bowls are amazing. And I love to use it, and especially right now, a lot of emotions flying around. But
and a lot of need for this. I feel as a practitioner, I graduated in 99. So I have been in practice for a long time, and I coach a lot of practitioners.
good girl.
And what I find is, you know, we get bored of the same old thing, but also I love that we can add more tools to our toolbox, because there is a time and place for acupuncture. And like you said, there are times when it's not indicated. It is not good for trauma response or healing, something like that. If we can add more tools to our toolbox, we make ourselves such a more powerful, valuable practitioners. They might be coming to you for acupuncture, but you might assess, you know what, I really think healing with sound right now is most appropriate. And they might have the most profound experience of their lives, they being the patient. And so your workshop that you're both going to be offering and your book, your information is doing that. It's giving practitioners more tools other than needles, and also for themselves. We were talking about before we hit the record button that I work a lot with practitioners, because the many practitioners are out there holding the space for everybody else, but who holds the space for them? And so having a modality that, oh, I have a 2 o'clock cancellation, I'm going to go do sound healing on myself.
Oh, there you go. Well, good for you, because practitioners need help. The practitioners are on the front lines, as you know.
I just love it. So you're going to be doing this at Symposium. They're going to learn all of these many of the techniques and protocols that they can use. Now, let's say I don't have Accutonics tuning forks. I'd be able to pick up, and maybe I have no musical inclination whatsoever. Am I still going to be able to use these tools?
Yes, absolutely. Just get the 2 ohm forks. They're about a C sharp, and they are unison and calming, meditative, grounding, and still. And what would you say? They could pick it up. We've taught people.
Yeah, I mean, that investment would be something that someone would obviously have to decide they wanted to make, but they're extremely useful and versatile tools. And one of the things I wanted to add here is the notion that even before the last 15 months, one might argue that we lived in a fairly discordant universe. So what we have here is a system that essentially allows people to become reharmonized, particularly when we're talking about Om, because it is an earth frequency. And again, even prior to recent events, we would have inveighed considerably on the fact that there is this worldwide addiction to visual technology. And while it's extremely useful, and of course, we can certainly see the benefits here in our conversation with you, in many ways, it takes us out of ourselves, and it ungrounds us, and it really deprives us of a certain yin aspect of our being. And so in introducing this notion of earth frequency, which we do all the time when we demonstrate at symposiums, we always ground the patient first with Om tuning forks. You know, it allows people to reconnect with an essential harmony, which I think, as I said, it has been so devoid in our culture in so many ways.
And it earths people. It's like walking on the grass or near a tree. People, especially in cities, have forgotten. I'm speaking for myself when I don't go out into the Central Park and walk. But it's very important to ground people. And also, before we even work with the ohms down the body, we have them listen to them. The 2 forks, the mid ohms. And what happens is you can feel when the vibration on one ear stops versus the other. So you can balance the right and left brain with the sound. There is a corpus callosum point, right? As you probably know, right in front of the tragus cartilage, bilaterally. Yeah. And you can, they call this the corpus callosum point, actually. You can put a tuning fork here, and you can put one on byway, let's say, and you can balance the right and left brain. Let's say if the sound stops on the left side, then you're looking at an imbalance in the right brain. And of course, the right brain is the nonlinear brain, the emotional brain, the creative brain. The person probably is worn out with thinking constantly and planning, trying to decide what to do in the middle of this craziness, you know, and that immediately after 3 times will balance. And then you can work down the body with the energy fields, the chakras in a way, and then kidney 1 at the end. at the beginning of a treatment, you've got a happy, grounded camper.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they start to actually breathe in the dantian. A lot of people don't breathe. The forks allow people the space to open and to breathe more than needles.
What would be is there a contraindication? To me, I'm hearing all of this and thinking, I can't imagine a contraindication to sound healing.
Well, I've had people who are autistic. It's not really a contraindication, but if you actually put a fork on an autistic child or patient's body, they will freak out.
Mm.
And you need to be in the field if you're working with them. We have high frequency forks we can use, but to actually suddenly put that on their body. I mean, I've worked with quite a few people who are autistic, or they're what about that woman that was missing what was she?
I wasn't there, so
you weren't there.
if you
Yeah,
want to
there
talk
was a
about it.
woman that was born and she was missing a
chromosome of some
chromosome
kind.
or something, and you could not put the sound on her, and forget needles. And I remember circling the forks around her head like she was Earth and all these planets were circling around her. And I had to go way out here. And I went around the head and and didn't touch her at all with the forks. And after that, she was very quiet and she said, "Oh," she said, "I feel like I've gone home. I'm home.
Wow.
Home, phone to, I mean, ET phone,
Wow.
wild.
Wild.
This was in the middle of a seminar in Scottsdale, Arizona at the Princess. And
Wow.
somebody walked in and said, "Can you help we were teaching sound, but also acupuncture." And so that happened. So yes, you can use it, but some people, post-traumatic stress syndrome, maybe you don't put that on their body right away. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally makes sense. You can
Yeah.
use more subtle forms. You can try earthing, grounding mats, essential oils, gemstones to bring them
Back
down.
to the limbic brain with the essential
Right.
oil. Definitely do that as well.
They have a whole range of high frequency forks as well, so you could use
In the field.
and you can actually just use these forks in the field. And of course, this notion, as I said, of coming home is really what we're talking about when we allow these people to experience earth energy. So many of us are so deprived of it in many ways. Our essential receptivity is all but leached out of us by our constant immersion, again, in visual technology.
And it is the ability to be receptive that we have lost. So when you have sound and you listen to it, it starts the ball rolling in the place of receptivity. It starts opening up the ability to just breathe and take it in. And that is very unusual. But I think one of the biggest, as a acupuncture practitioner, as a working with people in many different ways, one of the biggest things I find, and I'm sure you know this, is to listen to your patients, to listen to your practitioners, to listen to your students, and to be receptive instead of and that's wonderful. You are very receptive. You share what's going on, and yet you allow us to share as well, and you really listen. That is a rare gift.
That is part of her job description.
It's your job, but you don't
No,
have
it's because I want to hear everything you have to say. You said something about playing forks in the field. I think I know what you mean by that, but I'd like you to expand a little bit more about what does that mean when you're playing the forks or sound healing in someone's field? Is it like the field?
Just the energy field around the body, east. Mary Elizabeth's actually gone to grab, looks like a couple of forks.
I'm grabbing here.
I mean, if you're at all attuned to the notion that,
they don't have any.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, darling.
Go ahead.
In other words, you can go above the body, and you could also do it on the body, but the regular forks have a big resonator and a bigger stem. But you can actually, these are the 2 ohms. You can work around the 8 extraordinary meridians. You can work above the body. You can have them listen, and you you have to be sensitive as to how far out you need to be.
I see.
Yeah, and you can.
It,
So it's in the field, meaning you're not right in their chakras or in their aura. You're for this
oh,
person who is very afraid. What I was doing, I was circling her
got
hand.
it.
Got
That's
it?
what I wanted to ask. So it's not their aura. The field is maybe their, because like Heart Math Institute says that our heart emits a certain frequency, and that's our heart field, our heart resonant field, right? Some people have bigger ones. You can feel them in a room. And so
Gotcha.
you're just kind of in an energetic field, but not one that's so close to the chakra system or the aura.
Now you obviously would be going over the acupuncture points, the Chinese medicine points, and over the chakras, but you're not focusing on that. You're actually opening up what we call the etheric field, right?
Right.
So the different fields in the body.
Multiple layers of etheric field, so
Yeah.
that you can work with.
But
something that just came to me as a question: have you ever worked with two people? I imagine you have. So if you're working with a field, a large field, and there's two people in a room, then you're probably affecting two. You could affect two people's fields and harmonize relationships as well.
you could make a lot of money doing that right now in this time.
Instead of marriage and
idea.
family counseling, I would much rather come to you two for healing and have my husband and I just sit there and we'll play music in our field. I bet we'd get a lot more out of it than tell me what really bugs you about your husband. Tell me what really bugs you about your partner, and drawing up all this negativity, because I just think that the sound healing could do so much more.
You'd all get a forking too, so that it's all good thing. Tell them about the work you do with the astrology, with the.
Oh, well, I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
I will just say that, just to reiterate what I said at the outset, that this is a system, while they won't really be introduced to all the intricacies of it in the seminar or even in the book, it really is a fully developed planetary system. So the work that I do as a Western medical astrologer is to address the body as a planetary landscape. And when you use these tuning forks and you work within the paradigm of acutonics, you have this myriad of choices that you can make regarding how you might treat a person. You can approach them, via the poetic and energetic landscape of the meridians, but then you can also use this entire repertory, if you will, of planetary frequencies to describe all aspects of their being, their physical structure, their metabolism, their physiognomy, their malaise. All of these things can be described by planetary signatures.
And the interesting thing that he does is he gives them a reading, but then actually uses the forks of the body and balances imbalances, right?
Well, we use the Western horoscope as a diagnostic map of potential constitutional imbalance. So even if someone isn't necessarily, manifesting physical symptoms, you can still approach it as something that can be once again harmonized in a sort of homeopathic way.
And it's preventative then, because if you're looking at their Western astrology, this could happen for you because you're predisposed based on the alignment. Absolutely. So let's make sure that doesn't manifest by putting you in harmony.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can look at any kind of planetary disharmony as happening along a huge spectrum of manifestation. On one level, you might have psychospiritual issues, but if those aren't addressed over time, they could certainly turn into physical disability and ailment.
So it's interesting to be able to. It's very flexible to be able to use forks based on Western medical astrology and use them on the body of moon Pluto, right? Or a yod or something that needs balancing.
Yeah.
You can actually use the ohms, but you could also use all the planetary forks as well.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that illness results from essential disharmony, however you want to construe it, whether it be chi, blood and fluids, or planetary influence, or any number of other things.
Imbalance of the meridians.
Is very much a part of all traditional medicines, right? This is where traditional medicine has its point of departure. It may recognize symptoms, and of course, there's nothing to say you can't treat symptoms in what we refer to as an allopathic way, but ultimately those symptoms are a manifestation of some underlying imbalance.
Sure, absolutely.
So the
Um,
key thing, oh, go ahead. What did you?
well, you were on a train of thought. I saw you looking at something. Let's
Yeah,
let's
no,
go
you
with your
go
train
ahead.
of thought.
You go ahead
Oh,
first.
Well, my question might take us a little bit on a right-hand turn, and that is, Mary Elizabeth, I know when I was in school back in the 90s and emerging, I followed you with essential oils and also with facial rejuvenation. And I know that's been a big part of your practice. I'd
Yes.
love for you to share how you have merged those two. A moment ago, you were talking about how you can roll up and tuck and put a tuning fork there. So how have you merged the tuning fork sound healing with facial rejuvenation and anti-aging? And I know you have certifications, you have your gold standard program. So the
Oh,
second
yes.
part of the
It's really
question
quite
is,
something.
in
Yeah.
your gold standard program for facial rejuvenation, do you incorporate sound healing in that?
We
Absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
There are quite a few levels. It's body, mind, spirit. So you need to work with the body before you even get to the working with the alchemical bit, and then the spirit. When we go into the spiritual, the last what would you say?
Our
Seminar.
vibrational level, the last two
Yeah,
modules of the
we
program.
pull out the forks and we teach people how to work with them, and it's quite powerful. Uh, so yes, so we have a 2-year program going right now, and people are attending from all over the world. Yeah, we've got Mumbai and India. We have
Singapore,
Singapore,
Philippines,
Philippines, UK, yeah,
and here.
America, the U.S. and there's some other people I forgot.
That's it.
No, there's more. But this gold standard we've done, it's the 4th annual, well, fourth international gold standard. We usually have people from all over the world. So
Well, we do.
yep. So we have the first one where we really get into the body. And we've noticed if people aren't grounded, they can't take anything in. They can't take anything in. So we start with the constitutional facial acupuncture renewal, and then we pull into the advanced, where we start pulling in the motor points, right? As well as, and it's a whole constitutional treatment. And that is spring, fall, right? And then we pull that into the archetypes, which is working with the even more intensely with motor points and trigger points in the body, as well as the face, as well as all of the essential oils that we create, the herbal masks, the creme vital, ESP rose, which is all organic, and then we also have the Chevrolet Deluxe. You like to say something with that?
Oh, that's all right. We'll save that for another time.
And so that is the next level, 3 and 4, and here we're moving to the archetypal level. We're still in the level of the body, and then the third one we're dealing with the alchemy, which
Yeah, the
is
second level is an alchemical level. I mean, there's been a great deal of course, of writing about alchemy in the acupuncture world in recent years. Laurier Deschar's marvelous work, and I mean, it would be our contention that an alchemical approach to facial acupuncture is really an extremely profound one, because the face really provides us with a direct view, if you will, of an alchemical process of transformation that's going on within the body.
So it's powerful. So we've got the sparking the Shen and transforming the Shen here. So it is the alchemical is very, that's the shift. I found people, and these are used only in the second and third, only in the gold standard. We don't teach other people this.
No, we don't teach the alchemical level outside the gold standard.
Or the vibrational level.
And as we go up the ladder, if you will, and we do actually include a couple of ascension type rituals in our program, we do move away from purely aesthetic considerations more toward the level of transformative ritual. Although we always do anchor things in a facial
using
treatment
essential
approach.
oils, of course, and also gem elixirs. Have you ever made gem elixirs? Yes, you have, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you use gem elixirs?
Yeah, I do. I have them all over. I have a million of them right here.
Did you make those?
I did. So in 2000, I used to use essential oils always in my practice. And then inevitably patients would say, oh, it smells so good. Where can I get them? And I thought, well, I don't know. I make them myself. Oh, make me some. and I'll pay you whatever it costs. So next thing you know, I was like the ice cream man, you know, open up the back of my Jeep and people would come in, and students, and I'm selling these things. And I think that's one of the places where you and the three of us met. Was I had a booth at Symposium.
Exactly.
I was selling. And the elixir portion is that I put gemstones, because I'm also a big rock hound. I have gemstones always playing with me everywhere I am. And so I started putting gemstones into my essential oils for that vibrational reason. And the gemstones I would put in, I wanted to make sure they could be repurposed, because there's so many gemstone products with like little chips of gemstone or dust, or so I put jewelry quality pre-drilled beads within the gemstone elixirs, so they could go use them later on. In fact, quick story, my sound healer, I went to visit him a month ago, and he bought a lot of my gem elixirs, and he just built a new home. And as I was walking into his new studio, he said, look down on the floor, and there was all these little shimmery things on the floor. And I looked closer, and they were all the gemstones from all the bottles of the gemstones that he had bought in my elixirs, these little elixirs. He had pulled them out after he used them and put them into the floor, into the concrete.
Oh my.
They were shimmering. I almost cried. I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so,
it's like a sacred ground there, right?
Very sacred. Yeah, very special.
People are, we both, all three of us, have been on that road for a while, and it's very powerful. We had some 5-element gem elixirs, right? In particular.
Yeah, we have our own 5-element planetary blends of essential oils, but we also have a whole planetary range of gem elixirs. And what we found, particularly with the gem elixirs, and you could probably echo this, East, is that they are tremendously effective in addressing acute types of manifestations. You know, we've seen some remarkable things happen in our seminars.
That one story, the blind story.
Yeah, we
were teaching. Story.
Yeah, we had a case of temporary blindness that occurred at a seminar we were teaching at Yosan. I think it's okay to say that.
But the name will not.
Yeah, a few years ago. It was a very large class. We had about 40 people, and we were doing. I think we were doing the new protocols. From Mary Elizabeth's book. So we had 2 practitioners, senior practitioners from Sedona, interestingly enough, right down front. We knew them both very well because we'd been sponsored there and these types of things. And one of them was working on the other in the glabellar crease. And of course, as we all know, this is Botox land. This is the area of the face where people have to come to grips with how they, express, anger and frustration in their lives. And the patient, was a very gifted natural psychic, but who was from a Western medical background and who would often sort of get stuck in her rational brain. And she wore glasses all the time. So her colleague is working on the glabellar crease, and
of course the glasses
are off for the time being, and eyes are closed, and everything seems very routine. And at the end of the treatment, she says, well, you can open your eyes now. And the patient opens her eyes, and she can't see a thing. There's just a wash of white.
She could not see.
She was blind for all intents and purposes.
And did you tell me about it?
No, well, they sort of quietly freaked. And then the practitioner, again, superb practitioner, comes over to Mary Elizabeth and says, I don't know how to tell you this, but she can't see anything.
And so I said, oh boy. So basically, without making this too long, I went over to the practitioner. I said, don't panic, breathe. We're going to take care of it. Needle gallbladder 37. It's not only for bright eyes, it is also psychospiritual and other forms of sight. And so she did that.
And in the meantime, the intelligence had come to me, and knowing what I knew of the patient and of the the potential transformative power of the gem elixirs, I said, okay, well, give her Jupiter gem elixir, because through that relates to the wood element, which is that part of the face. Through its rulership of Sagittarius, Jupiter has to do with expansion of vision, metaphysical outlook, moving beyond pre-existing paradigms, all these types of things. And so between the combination of gallbladder 37, bright light, and the Jupiter gem elixir, which she ingested, Mary Elizabeth had her.
I said, do not open your eyes until I tell you to.
Yeah.
Do not open your eyes. And so we waited a bit, and I was going, oh my God. Oh. But I remembered Hildegard of Bingen, the medieval mystic, when she was going through seeing her mandalas. She was blind.
Yeah.
Until you know that, right?
Yeah. It's an awesome story. Yeah.
Until it came through.
Yeah.
And I thought of Hildegard, and I thought, it's okay. She is just working on something.
Yeah, we both
here.
thought it intrinsically it was a
Yeah.
third eye opening.
So when it was
thought.
time, I said to her, now open your eyes. And we all kind of went, okay, here we go. She opened her eyes and said, oh my God, I don't need my glasses.
Yeah,
What?
I can see perfectly.
so vision was restored, but enhanced for the better part of a day and a half. She could see auras. And the other thing was that she had really a spiritual opening in that she became very optimistic and open-hearted, and would go up to people on the street and say, oh, your aura is so beautiful.
Perfect
and,
for
right,
California.
we felt that her friend should probably have one of those little toddler leashes to keep her on for that period.
Yeah, right.
And again, without wanting to devolve too much into what I do, the astrology line behind this was so extraordinary. I wrote an essay about it. And I said in my essay, I thought that she would eventually regard it as one of the most significant spiritual, developments of her life. And we saw her, I think, a couple of years later, and she said that was the most remarkable thing. Remarkable thing. And as I said in my article, Saul too went blind on the road to Damascus.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it was
that's
so
really
bright
what it
you
was
couldn't
about.
see.
Yeah.
And that she was all washed away. So that things happen, and the elixir and everything happening. In our book, the Vibrational Acupuncture, there's a whole fantastic chapter on gem elixirs and how it was used, how people used it. Hildegard, and you know all of that, but she kind of inspired us to put that in the book.
Yeah. They're really remarkable.
So things happen, as you know.
And they, again,
I love it.
can be used very wonderfully with astrological types of consultations as well, needless to say. One thing I wanted to interject here too, East, that in addition to vibrational acupuncture, which is a synergy of the chi of acupuncture needling and the vibrational chi of tuning forks, we have a whole course, really a certification in facial soundscapes, which is purely vibrational, in which we introduce the gamut of acutonics tuning forks in 5 levels, and again is replete with treatment protocols and transformative rituals. And we've taught that probably now for about 15 years in various locations here and abroad. And that's also another very powerful application of these vibrational
lots
tools.
of seminars that we've created. It just is really easy, to create these, and
probably about 22 different seminars.
Since we've seen
the one Michelangelo, the one that you just mentioned, the facial, it's called facial, what's it called?
Soundscapes.
Yeah. And there are 5 levels.
Yeah.
And it goes through the gamut of the forks, and it's powerful. And at the end, we work with genie astrology and vibrational medicine and shifting your intergenerational patterns. So that we usually do, and we have done in northern New Mexico, and had this amazing space north of Taos, so that everybody could be open, and there were gongs there. And bowls and didgeridoo. It was amazing, and they're all acupuncturists. The ones that came that took all 5 levels, but it's powerful what we can do with sound, vibration, healing, needles, acupuncture, with our intention, with our creativity, with our willingness to listen to that right brain and open up to creative, and then to be able to use the left brain and bring it into form. The whole idea of creativity going up the renmai, the birth of the child, going up the ren and down the back. So you've got that yin creativity, and down the back you've got the manifestation. That has to be really grounded in the earth in order to bring things through. And I know you know that very well.
Oh, but I love the way you say it. I love it. You are so correct, and it just resonates. And I hope a lot of people are going to gain a lot from this. I know they will. I know in the way you say it. I'm like, yes. So you have the Gold Standard program. Are all of these programs and workshops live? Do you have things recorded?
Yes, go ahead, Michael.
Well, what we've been compelled to do east of necessity in the last 15 months is basically shift all of our educational efforts and outreach online. So we've taught a couple of our basic certification series online, the Advanced Constitutional Facial Acupuncture, which is our core
The new
facial
protocols.
acupuncture
Okay,
series, and
yeah.
then Constitutional Facial Acupuncture, the new protocols. And because of the Zoom platform, it's now quite easy to make a record of these things. So we have a whole range of our courses that are now available
And
online.
we're filming the gold standard as well.
Yeah, they're all available on YouTube. And if, people want to participate, all they would have to do would be reach out. We've done all 5 levels of facial soundscapes online. And
We've done the
recorded them all.
significant syndromes.
Yeah.
And
So our intention, obviously, at this point is to return to our customary slate of live seminars as soon as it's feasible to do so.
or
And
even, I think next year we are.
and
Yeah.
we invite anybody who really wants to learn the material in advance that they can go ahead and do so online, and then they would be invited to a subsequent live event at no additional cost. So we, that's
We're
our
doing that,
feeling
yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at your website, Facial Acupuncture Wakefield Technique. Where do I sign up for these online offerings?
They would have to contact us directly by email.
And what would you use?
Oh,
The
just
chi?
chi.akra@gmail.
The chi, chi.akra, A-K-R-A, @gmail.com. chi.akra, A-K-R-A, @gmail.com. Now that is my way of saying chakra, but chi-akra.
Chi-akra.
I coined it many years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've not seen it before.
Yeah.
But so they could look up in any of the webinars and see what they can do. And,
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just interject here. If anybody was really, I don't know when this podcast is going to be live, but if anybody was particularly keen about the gold standard, they could still yet join the program just by participating in the first, module or level or 2 levels,
incredible
through
people.
watching the videos. So the other thing we routinely extend to people now is the opportunity to have a live coaching on Zoom where they can ask questions, where if they want to even if they have someone they can work with as a model, they can work with them online, and we can offer our observations. So there are ways that we can
They email constantly.
extend this. And the other thing we're routinely doing, of course, is introducing filmed demonstrations into our actual
Embedded in the
slideshow
slideshow.
presentations.
That's the only way to go. People have to
See it.
see it.
Yeah, Mary
Right.
Elizabeth's been very adamant about trying to make these online teaching experiences as interactive as possible.
Right.
Which they
Yeah.
are
Yeah,
actually.
they're quite interactive.
And I also will sit there, ground myself with needles or tuning forks or magnets, and I will show them how to work with the platysma muscle, and which I need to work with right now, but how to work with that platysma muscle via motor points or however you want to use it, usually motor points, in order to lift and tone the platysma. And I'll just sit there and I'll do it right in front of them, not looking in the mirror or anything. I said, if you cannot work on yourself, and of course you're grounded, you've got the needles in, or the tuning forks. I said, if you are not able to do this for yourself, maybe start looking in the mirror, but then just totally like a blind acupuncturist, like the amas in Japan. Yeah, if you cannot do that yourself, and you start working on other people, you're never going to know how it feels.
Right.
You become a better acupuncturist if you do this for yourself, especially the face.
Yeah.
And the neck and the head.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
And that is a required skill set for all gold standard graduates.
And they do.
To be able to do that.
They do it. They're brave. They're intrepid. God bless them.
Yeah.
From all over the world, and they're amazing people. So.
So the gold standard is a 2-year program that has it's 2 years, several modules, and it's just encompasses all the many things we just discussed. That's multi-dimensional. It's basically, it's like your life's work in a 2-year program.
Well, it's spring, fall, 2 years. And then after we finish, everybody does case studies, and we support them with that. And when we're finished, we take a year off, and then we start another one the year after. So we don't do them constantly.
No,
right? We take years off. So it's usually spring and close to fall, summer, fall. And right now they're in a break, and then the next level
It's
of
in
the
August.
somatic level will be in August. Yeah.
Yeah, we were originally
Okay.
first going to teach it live at Yosan, and that was the scheduling that worked for them. But we kept it for the virtual events.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
then recently we just got a call, and we were asked to teach next spring in Antwerp, in Belgium, at a big school. And then after that, you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, well, we
Just
were
recently.
supposed to present live at the TCM Congress in Rothenburg in 2020. We did
TCM
a
Congress.
3-hour recorded presentation, and we had a gentleman there who runs a very big acupuncture school outside of Frankfurt, and
It's called Offenbach.
yeah, he's in Offenbach am Main, and he's very keen on tuning forks. And he said that, and this is the first time we've heard it, because we actually have taught a little bit of tuning forks in Germany. But for the very first time, he said there's growing interest now in
Huge.
these vibrational modalities. He said, so would you come to Offenbach and teach? So we're going to go
with the
to,
needles and the sound, and the
yeah, so we're going to teach vibrational acupuncture.
It's the
in
biggest school in
Offenbach.
Germany.
So so he says, yeah.
Lovely guy.
Yeah.
Lovely
And
guy.
you both love traveling.
Oh gosh, miss it.
80% of the time until,
I don't
last
like
March.
what you have to do now to get on the plane.
No, we're
But that
You will be able to travel again. And your
yeah.
so it's June now. We're recording this podcast, June 2021.
Yeah.
And your next conference is going to be symposium?
Yeah, we're supposed to be at EPSOMA in Fort
yeah.
Lauderdale in August. We're doing, what are we doing there?
I don't
I think we're
remember.
doing vibrational acupuncture
Maybe we're
there
doing
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
We had a marvelous experience there a couple of years ago, and
It's
so
at
we're
the
very
Marriott,
happy to
I
be
think.
going to Florida to do that.
They're lovely people there.
Yeah.
Really lovely. And then in the
But it looks
fall
like
we'll be with you.
Yeah, it looks like
Yep.
spring 2022 before anything will
Absolutely.
resume live. I mean, we might do some things here at our home base if people are amenable to coming.
We'll see what happens.
In New York. Well,
Yeah.
people are traveling again. I just got back from Sedona and the plane was packed, and
Was it?
Sedona was packed, and maybe Sedona.
good.
If you get, yeah. So the way to get in touch with you, I'm looking at the time, and I know you guys
Sure.
are clearly busy with all of these programs, and people want to get a hold of you. I know they will want to get a hold of you. They email chiakra, CHI AKRA @gmail. They can also go to the websites and contact you through your
They could
website.
also call us. too,
Yeah,
could
if they go to the website for the first time, a contact form will pop up. They can
Right.
add themselves to our mailing lists, and it's really quite easy.
And they can come see you at Symposium we're going to be doing on live. In 2022, there's going to be a plethora of opportunities to see you live and in person all over the world. They can engage in your the facial soundscapes class. All 5 of those are online. Advanced constitutional facial acupuncture is also available online. They can get involved with your gold standard 2-year program, and they can just call you and do some coaching with you. Hey, listen, I'm already doing sound healing. I'm not sure if I'm doing it to the level that is optimal. Maybe you could help me out. They can also do that as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Also with the
And we would
the
certainly
news.
encourage people, if they're interested in this, to invest in the book. It really is a treasure trove and a vast compendium
Here it
of
is.
information.
There it is. Look at that.
Hardback. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
5-star.
I'll just mention that I took all the photos.
Yes, he's going to take credit.
I was just going to ask,
I
who
got
took those photos?
He did.
I got blue ribbons.
That was one of my patients on the front, of course.
So I got blue ribbons for my photography in 4-H back in
Oh
the
my
day, so
God. He will not let that one go. You are wonderful.
That's right.
You're just marvelous.
That's right.
The book, Vibrational Acupuncture, Integrating Tuning Forks with Needles.
Right.
It was published by Singing Dragon. It is out. You are, I guess, on your book tour kind of now, and perhaps the world wasn't really ready for it. They had to incubate for 15 months, and now,
That's well said.
now it's ready. Like, let's bring those books out. Where can we buy the books? Are they sold on Amazon?
They can get in touch with us, but Amazon has them.
Okay.
Amazon, probably most of the major online booksellers, I would say.
Have it.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah,
This
For
book
sure
is
on Amazon.
for any practitioner, for anybody that is an enthusiast in our medicine. So we do have people that are nurses, doctors, chiropractors that are versed in Chinese medicine enough to be able to play with these modalities. This book would be perfect for them. Definitely for a practitioner that wants more tools in their toolbox.
Well
I
said.
think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and also while they're out there holding the space for the many, what you present in this book will help hold space for themselves and help to like rejuvenate and realign themselves and rebalance themselves so they can be the best practitioner possible.
Well
for the
said.
many people.
Beautiful. Well said, my
Yeah,
dear.
absolutely.
You
I
are
believe it.
wonderful.
I
You are
believe it
wonderful.
whole. This interview, I can't thank you both enough for taking this
Oh, we
time
thank
with
you.
me. It's such an honor, even if it's on Zoom. I mean, I still remember meeting both of you live, and I just left feeling so blessed and healed by both of you. So thank you for being in the world. Thank you for sharing your information, your experience, which is so vast, deep, and goes beyond all dimensions. This has been such a pleasure. I hope to see you both
A
again
pleasure
very
for us
soon.
as well, East.
Yeah.
You're amazing. And it's wonderful to meet you, even on the Zoom. It's fantastic. You know, the whole time we look at you at the big, the meeting being recorded is covering your eyes.
Is it?
I
Oh
can
boy.
see you up here. Oh, that's okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being so generous of
Oh,
spirit,
boy.
so insightful. And please let us know if there's anything we can do for you as well.
Yeah, it's delightful
I know
to
you're
finally
busy.
have a chance to chat
see
with
you.
you. You know, we really haven't had that
No.
opportunity before. So
You are
we're very
gorgeous.
grateful
Thank
for
you.
the opportunity.
You are absolutely gorgeous in all
Yeah.
levels. Thank you so much.
You as well, both of
Appreciate
you, and enjoy your upcoming vacation. So everybody
Oh, God,
listening,
yes.
do not contact them for at least a
End of the
month.
month
Give
we're
them a
leaving.
break.
Yeah, give us a break.
Give them a break.
Or
Give them
yeah,
a break.
no texting. No.
Yeah.
All right, you two.
Blessings to you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Blessings.
so much for your
Blessings to you,
time.
my dear.
Blessings.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
for now.
Yeah,
Bye now.
bye-bye.